So you've done it. You've fallen into degeneracy. You fought as long as you could, but those 2D curves and suggestive flavor text won out in the end. I applaud you for lasting so long. But now, I welcome you to VCard! In case you've been too busy touching grass and enjoying life, you may have not heard or seen much about this new TCG. And in this video, I want to go over everything about VCard so that you too can start collecting. Firstly, this video is specifically going to teach you what VCard is and all about the cards themselves to understand the TCG as a whole. I will not be going over how to play, as that is a separate video that actually needs to be updated. So be sure to subscribe and click that bell icon so that you are the first to know when I upload more VCard content. And I made some timestamps for this video so that you can either jump to where you need or simply come back to spots to watch again. But without further delay, let's start with the simplest question. What is VCard? Well, in this simplest explanation, it is a TCG centered and based around some of the most popular VTubers. Don't know what a VTuber is? Ask your mother. The head honcho on the creation of the VCard TCG is none other than Shy Lily. She announced on stream somewhere around 2023 about wanting to create a trading card game herself that involved VTubers. And after becoming a part owner in GamerSupps in 2024, we started hearing more mentions about this card game. Though we'd have to wait until January 31st, 2025 for the first set, Rising Stars. Now, VCard has 2 editions of every set they release. A first edition with limited amount of boxes and a first edition stamp on the box, packs, and cards. Then, a limited edition that technically has no set amount, but a limited time sale of about 3 weeks. And after that pre-order time, the cards will never be sold again. Which the community has opinions about, but that's a topic for another day. Currently, upon writing this, VCard has 3 sets, and we just decimated our wallets buying the newest one, Divine Chaos. We'll get into every set and what they added to the game, but first, I want to point out a huge problem related to the original set, Rising Stars. And to describe this problem, I need to introduce a little TCG vocabulary to you. There's a very common term in many TCGs such as Yu-Gi-Oh!, Magic, and even Pokemon. That term being errata. Essentially what that means is after a card was printed, certain text had to be tweaked in future printings to fix or balance the card effects. Now where this plays a role in VCard is between Rising Stars First Edition and Limited Edition. So let's use this Shy Lily PL8 card for example. This is the one that was printed in the first edition boxes of Rising Stars. Now, if we compare it to the limited edition, basically a whole new card. Yeah, they kind of made a huge change to how the game was played and looked in between the printing of these 2 editions. Meaning that if you, like myself, purchased the first edition of this set, almost 60% of all the cards you pulled cannot be played in the game. Yeah, they essentially errataed the entire set, considering the other 40% of the set doesn't have effects, just flavor text. So meaning when I describe and explain all the words and numbers on the card, just know I will not be talking about the Rising Stars First Edition. So with the origins of VCard and that disclaimer out the way, let's start learning about the cards. We'll bring back the Shy Lily to start with the PL8 cards. Now, when I say PL, that stands for power level and is indicated at the top center of the card. The PL8 VTs are the most basic card and is the essential building blocks to every deck. Among with their power level, you'll see their name at the top right and their element in the top left. Now with the release of Divine Chaos, VCard has 7 elements. These being water, grass, fire, electric, platinum, Chaos, and Divine. Continuing with the overview, in the center is the artwork for the VT. Just below that, we see the card's effect. Shy Lily specifically has 2 effects that activate at different times. And this little tiny box at the bottom left of the art is how the effect is activated. For example, Lily's says lock, meaning before you activate either of her effects, you must have her in play and lock her. If you want to understand that a little more, be sure to watch the How to Play video. I go way more in depth about that. Then at the bottom, we have the VT's strengths and weakness, meaning when in combat, if you go against one of the listed elements, you have to take that into account. To the right of the effect box, we have the set symbol. This is a little design that lets you know what set the cards are from. In this case, this is Rising Stars. And just in case you are pretty new to TCGs, at the very bottom in tiny text, we have the artist who drew the artwork for this card and the card set number. Also, this text box between the artwork and effect box is just a little flavor text. It doesn't do anything gameplay-wise, but it is a fun little thing. Like Lily's age being 5003, or Fifi's weight being f you. Cute, right? Now, just like that Caterpie you stuck in a box after catching in Viridian Forest because you like Beedrill more, these VTs can evolve. When you evolve a VT, you overlay it with its PL9 card. Now, the PL9 card has most of the same features as the PL8. Same name, element, weakness, but the main differences are cosmetic. Obviously, you notice the larger artwork, but now in the bottom, there is no effect box. Instead, it's actually more flavor text. Most of this text on the PL9 cards gives some lore into the VT on the card. Others will put you on a list. I don't know if I need to censor this or not. I'll go over this more in the How to Play, but when you evolve, your VT does keep the same effect as the PL8. It's just not printed onto the 9. And finally, we've reached the peak VTuber performance, PL10s. If you were able to grasp and understand the PL9s, well, I'd say you have a good guess on how these work. PL10s are another evolution and go over PL9 cards, but this time they have an alternative artwork. These are usually the big chases in the set, and they even have different flavor text. Yeah, I'm definitely censoring that one. PL10s are the ultra rares of VCard, and outside of one specific card type, they are the ones you want to pull, but more on that later. Now we move on to the mascots. Now mascots look pretty similar to PL8s, but with pretty big differences. In the top right, you can see a little picture of the VT that this mascot is paired to. In this case, Orca Pup is paired to the Water VT Shy Lily. I should specify it is paired specifically to the Water Shy Lily, and not the Electric or Chaos ones that released in later sets, as those have their own paired mascot. Also, side note, you may notice that mascots in Rising Stars and Awakened Worlds do not have their element on the card itself. This was changed in Divine Chaos, but for the first 2 sets, these mascots are just the same element as the VT they're paired to. Plus, all the elements have different colored borders, so there's that. Mascots, like the PL8s, still have an effect box, effect keyword, and at the bottom it tells you the VTs it gives a boost to. By the way, all the cards mentioned so far come in a normal and holographic version. Besides the PL10s, they're all holographic, unless you get them in a starter deck, but that's like a weird situation. This next card, though, actually has 3 different variations. This here is a support card. If you ever played Yu-Gi-Oh!, these are like the spells and traps, though there are currently 3 types of support cards. There are the boosts, the allies, and the reinforcements. I'll go over these more in the How to Play video, but for a quick summary, boosts are played for the effect listed on the card and then discarded. Allies are attached to a VT and stay on the field until stated otherwise. Reinforcements are like the counters or reactions to something your opponent does. such as if your opponent plays a boost on their turn, you can play a reinforcement in response to it. Also, if you heard me say that there are 3 variations of supports, that's because you can get them in normal, holo, or secret rare, with the latter having a holo alternative full art. They don't do anything different, they're just kinda rarity bumps and fun chase cards. Now the final card type, Worlds. Worlds are kinda difficult to explain without going into the game more, but basically, there's a specific spot on the game board, and when you or your opponent plays a world, their effect is applied to both players. Every world card does have an element, so that goes into planning your deck, but there are neutral world cards, which don't technically have any element. And once again, they come in normal and holo variant. So, lots of chases. Worlds were introduced in Awakened Worlds, hence the name. So if you're watching this in the future, and VCard has released a new set with something I didn't cover in this video, firstly, thank you for watching so far, and secondly, I will most likely have talked about it on the channel in a much shorter and to-the-point video, like I did with the Worlds cards. Now, one thing I have been saving to mention is the existence of God Packs and God Rares. So God Packs can exist in 2 different ways. They can come from regular packs, or they can be golden. Now obviously a gold pack is pretty obvious, and you will know it's a God Pack, but for God Packs that are in regular packs, I'll explain how to tell. Firstly, if you open a God Pack, every card in there will be holo. It usually starts with a holo Mascot or 2, a holo PL8, maybe a secret rare, and a holo PL9. But the biggest thing about God Packs is the final 4 cards. Every God Pack, or at least all the ones that have been talked about, contains at minimum 4 PL10s, which is absurd. And we've actually opened 2 on the channel if you want to go see those. But if you are lucky, then there is a chance your God Pack will contain a God Rare. A God Rare is a unique 1-of-1 card that is the artwork of the main card, but blinged out in gold and signed by the creator on the card. These are incredibly rare and are only in 1 of every 10,000 packs. I was lucky enough to find mine, and it will be my firstborn kid's inheritance. Now, God Rares can only be found in first edition boxes. Limited boxes can contain gold or God Packs, but those will never have a God Rare within them. Lastly, I should mention that in every box of VCard on top of the packs, there is an Art Series pack. In Rising Stars, this contained a single box topper card, though in the 2 later sets, it actually contained 2, one being a VT and one being a support. What these box toppers are is the artwork of the PL10 or the secret rare without any of the card effects written on them and signed by the artist that drew the art of that card. Outside of God Rares, technically these are the rarest cards, as you only get 1 pack per box. And even in Divine Chaos and Awakened Worlds, there's only 2 cards within it. Now, a little honorable mention, there's actually these other cards that I guess the community calls mural cards or puzzle cards. What they are is that they're just a group of 9 cards that make a 3x3 picture of whatever the set is. In Rising Stars, you actually got 1 of these pieces per pack, but in Awakened Worlds and Divine Chaos, you only get 1 puzzle piece per box. So if you need to finish that mural, either you want to get really lucky with 9 boxes or you're about to pay up. And that is what I believe to be everything you need to know about VCard. If you have any additional questions, go ahead and ask them in the comments section. I'd love to get more people informed and grow this TCG's community. And if you want to learn how to play, be sure to look out for my next video going over all the steps such as deck building, setting up, and playing the game. Thank you again for watching, and see you next time.